Welcome to In Biz Together, the podcast for business owners and entrepreneurs across all industries. I'm Michelle Lestas, business owner, coach and author of In Business with Yourself. It's great to have you listening in. Today I'm speaking with Clive Darby, owner-manager of Clive Wines based in Staffordshire, near to the beautiful cathedral city of Lichfield. Clive, originally a sales executive within the environment protection equipment industry, started producing fruit wines as a hobby from his kitchen table. As you know from my book and much of my work, the Hobbyist is one of the key business identities I focus on. Like Clive, these are business leaders that start up their enterprises out of a desire to earn an income from an activity they are passionate about doing, their hobby. Clive, you're very welcome to the podcast today.
Thanks, Michelle.
So, Clive, you mentioned that in April 2016, you took the biggest step in your career by leaving your full-time job and the company car that went with it and the income to boot, and to pursue your dream, really, and make your hobby into a main source of income. So that's a brave move, and I can imagine a fairly frightening one. So, what was the catalyst behind that? Was it about the hobby, or was it about the job, or a bit of both?
It's a little bit of both, really. I got to a stage where I was doing 40,000 miles a year as my sales role, running all over England and Wales, and I could be different sides of the country on different days. And I just got to a stage where I thought, I can't do this anymore. I just didn't want to do it. And then we also had a change of managerial role with the company I was working with. And personally, we could get on, but professionally, me and the new manager, we couldn't see eye to eye, really. And I didn't feel it was right for me going forward. So I just thought, well, I've got a little hobby business. I've got a little bit of money behind me. It's kind of now or never. I didn't want to leave it so long that I wouldn't have the energy to do it in another 5-10 years. So
really interesting. And so you obviously firmly believed you could make a living out of this and that you could actually make it work.
Yeah, because I'd been doing it as a hobby for about 4 years before that, and we've been selling it into some farm shops and delis and garden centres, and we were getting fairly regular repeat business. So I kind of felt if I had a bit more time to actually go and sell and produce more, I could make enough and sell enough to make it a sustainable business that I could take a sensible salary from. So I think you have to have that bit of belief in yourself as well.
Absolutely.
Before anybody else.
And so you had a great knowledge, obviously, of your craft and what you needed to do in the production of the wines. But then what about your business skills? I mean, clearly having a sales background, I'm sure, really helped you. But were there other things that you felt you were lacking and you just had to sort of learn as you went?
Yeah, it was a bit of learning as I went, but I'd done an engineering apprenticeship where I spent time in every kind of department, from accounts to marketing to production, which was good. I'd also done work with a couple of small startup companies where, again, you get involved in everything that the business has to be doing. So I kind of see that as my kind of teaching or learning over my period of my life. So that kind of allowed me to do what I needed to do to get started, and then learn on the job as such, but always be able to ask people. I've never been afraid to ask a question, even if it seems a simple one. I would rather ask a question if I don't know, and I've had people fortunately lucky enough to help me and point me in the right direction as needed.
And looking back on it now and where you are, here you are, 6 years later, would you do things differently? Would you? Yeah.
I think there's lots of things that I would do. One of the main things was when we started, because I've just like making wine and trying different flavors. I was trying to sell 20 flavors at a time, which was, looking back in hindsight, was absolutely crazy. And we reduced that down a lot more, which has been really good. I would also have pushed more on the early days of selling online. because it's an area that's now growing, but we could have been better positioned for it, I feel now. So
And it's growing now exponentially because of the
yeah,
whole
it's going
COVID.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah, so which it's great, and I'm not complaining about that. But you look back, and I suppose we all look back and think, well, I could have done that, but that's part of life and learning, and I don't see it as a negative. It's just one of those things. It's, well, okay, that's life, but you do things and you move on and you evolve and you change your business to how you need to be to make it successful.
And so I suppose I talk a little bit about when someone comes to business because of a hobby and they want to pursue that. It's very much all about you. It's all about your craft. And so does that make it difficult for you to think about growing the business, taking other people on? Where do you sit with that? Is that a bit of a hindrance in some ways?
Maybe, but I've worked in places where I've been able to delegate the roles away for people to assist. So I'm kind of approaching that kind of area now, with regard to the production side, because I'm getting to a stage where I could do with another pair of hands. So it's starting to something that I know I need to do to grow that. I'd like to be out a little bit more, seeing some of the outlets, because you do build good sales relationships with people face to face. But the current climate, no, we can't do that. And also it's the physicality of actually doing it. It's like I don't want to do all the hard work all by myself. It'd be nice to have another pair of hands to share some of the workload.
Yeah, and it's about helping it to grow, and and it's been amazing, I think, for all of us in the last year what we have been able to do without that face to face. But I know we all miss it, I think. Well, I was looking at your online shop. You have some wonderful wines, I have to say. I grew up in a family where we also grew some rhubarb in the garden, so I'm particularly taken to your ribbling. But so what next for Clive's Wines? Where are you heading with it now in the future, do you see?
The future for me is to really focus on getting our production right so that we don't run out of stock, because that leads to me not being able to complete sales or not sell as much as I'd like to do. That's my number one priority at the moment. And then the online sales is definitely something I'd like to do, because it helps with cash flow as well, because people are buying the wine and the money's coming straight in. Whereas if I'm selling it through a store, you're waiting for the money to come in. So that's the main focus for now. It's the online and production. I would like to grow larger, but it comes down to production capacity and what that entails. And I'm torn, if you like, at the moment of exactly how big I want to go. When I started, I originally thought, I want to be massive, want to be everywhere, all in the shops and export and everything like that. And I'm thinking, well, how does that work margin wise? What level of work will that involve? And so I'm in that kind of transition stage, if you like, of what do I really want to do with the business for the next, say, 20 years kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think that's some really sensible thinking in there as well. And of course, as I always say, business needs food and fuel, and that food and fuel is finance. So you're absolutely, looking at the profitability, not just at the actual size and so on. Clive, we're running out of time. It has been fantastic to speak with you. As I say, love your products, and thanks very much for joining me today.
Not a problem at all. It's been a pleasure.
If you want to know more about making your business grow, or which identity you are, In Business With Yourself is available at www.orpenpress.com or on Amazon Books or at any Waterstones bookstore. You can also contact me directly at www.michellelestas.com. I'm Michelle Lestas. Thank you for listening in. Until the next time.